Hello and welcome back to the next One Piece review and discussion. We are finally through it, everyone. Oda's 3 week break is done, and the new chapter releases tomorrow. And we were certainly left at a bit of a crux in Egghead itself, where Oda decided to take his break, which rightfully so, with what was going on and the focus on mental health and taking some time. It was important, but I'm glad he's back because I think we all want to know how in the world are the Straw Hats getting out of here? With the 5 elders and what we've seen so far and what we're gonna see, things don't seem to look great. The 5 elders seem to be incredibly strong, which we assumed. But what sort of miracle is going to come along to save them? Because it doesn't look good. So, without further ado, chapter 1112, Hard Aspect. Now, rough translation, don't know if that'll be the official title, it never normally is, but the comment attached to this title specifically says that the aspect is referring to the astrological signs of when like planets align up and they're like angles with each other. So we've got our 5 elder planets. I think that's where Oda's going for. And we're getting ahead, but by the end of the chapter, I'll try and explain what Oda's trying to go for here. But we do continue with the 1-0 cover story. We have the 3rd installment, and it is Kinemon asking a favour of Yamato. So he's given her something, just a parting gift, but he says it is because of a favour that I need to ask of you. So, seemingly her quest around Wano will involve something that Kinemon is asking of her. So, pretty interesting to see what journey she goes on, like Ode. But, nevertheless, last we left off, 3 weeks ago, we had Vegapunk's message broadcasting around the entire world. We have the 5 elders arriving at Egghead, showing their full demonic yokai forms. We had everyone almost in position, ready to leave. No one is sticking around. No one is trying to gather any resources or do anything else. It is simply a matter of escape at this point. So, with everyone in their positions and the 5 elders rocking up, there is an announcement from the Marines that all of the Mark III pacifistas have all been incapacitated. They are done. They are not being fired at. All the pacifistas are down, not destroyed, just down, because as we know and as we will see in a sec, Nos Joro himself has single-handedly frozen the circuitry or whatever he's done, all of the pacifistas that were lining the coast. And this man looks pissed. He is running on his skeletal horse legs, sheathing his sword, and everyone is ordering that we need to go now deal with Bonnie. That is what the radio chatter is saying, Don't let the Straw Hats escape. Bonnie, it will be a disaster if she leaves, because she has command of the pacifistas above everyone. Nos Joro is like, she is no more than a 12-year-old girl. And you, Vegapunk, gave her the power to destroy entire nations. Your defiance is as foolish as your insolence. And he charges off. seemingly heading somewhere. We now cut to the Giants at the ship with Bonnie's group, who are saying, there's some scary dudes back there. Best we just get on the ship and try and get out of here. You know, wait for everyone to regroup. But all the Egghead is still being bombarded now by the ships. And we see, look, all the Marines still shouting, still giving that chatter of, we can't let them set sail. We can't let them get to Elbath. You know, they are coming from the northeastern front. So we have to, everyone, focus your fire there. And we cut to the rest of them who were around. It wasn't just the Giants, you know. We've got Frankie, Atlas, Bonnie, Kuma. We're all here. Sanji is on his way. And we were intercepted by 3 of the Vice Admirals at the end of the last chapter. We had Red King, Pomsky, and Guillotine. And it is Frankie going airborne and going toe-to-toe with Red King. His mechanical gauntlet that has red on it. They are ready to punch, and Frankie gets his swing in first. His strong right clocking Red King in the face, and his neck, because he has that really like extended neck, it's like punched like out. So that was pretty cool. Excuse me. Then we've obviously then got the other Giants around who are at the ship, and Bonnie is just instructing them to look after Kuma, you know, look after my dad. And it is Pomsky who tries to take the advantage and jump on Bonnie. And he is like, look, you are a miserable brat. You are not going to get away with this, you know. You're not going to keep any of those war machines of ours. And Bonnie turns it around on him. Bonnie immediately turns him to a child. And he's like, oh no. And she just like drop kicks this poor dude as a child. I think this would be worse if Bonnie was actually an adult for drop kicking a child, because Bonnie is only a 12-year-old girl. Still pretty bad, but he's a Vice Admiral. But Guillotine is the one on the sidelines, like, this is just hard to watch now. Like, can we stop, please? He's trying to be the voice of reason. But we jump away from them. They seemingly have dealt with those Vice Admirals. They're easy work at this point. And we jump back up to the lab stratum. And it is where Vegapunk's message continues, and he's trying to drink his Vega coffee, but it is just too hot, you know. As he says, his tongue is as sensitive as cats are, so kind of funny. But we see that this room is now occupied by York and Marcus Mars himself in his bird serpent form, looking menacing. And the announcement from the recording is that there is 4 minutes left. So 4 minutes until this world-shattering news. And we see that York is like, look, this is definitely the room. There's no doubt about it. This is where it was filmed. Before she can even finish her sentence, Marcus Mars lets out a giant energy beam ray. Something annihilates through this lab. We only see the outside and the beam splintering through the building. And she's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on, sir. Don't do anything crazy. And he's like, we don't have time. You know, stop with this insolent. I don't care. We have to shut down this recording. And she's like, well, think about it. You've just destroyed this lab, but the broadcast is continuing, and we still hear that Shaka is talking to Stella like maybe there's a way to cool down, and they come up with this idea of cooling down the coffee while the video is still playing. And Marcus Mars just comes right out and says, look, I will eradicate this entire lab then. it will be vaporized. And you're trying to be the voice of reason now and saying that is one of the stupidest mistakes you could possibly make. Not only does Building B, right next to us, have all the weapons development, but the first floor of this building has the power station. And not only that, Building C, to our left, has high pressurized gas cylinders. If you damage any of that structure, any of those specific parts, there will be an explosion unlike anything we have seen. This whole island, Punk Records, annihilated. And he's like, right then, aren't you satellites all connected? You have an identical thought process. Think of a solution. And she finds a gun, just a bazooka, just on the floor, like, why not in this room? And as she picks it up, she says something very interesting. And to be fair, Marcus Mars doesn't respond, but he certainly is like questioning what she's saying. Because she's like, look, I know exactly how to stop this. Besides, we have racked up enough sins. Our relationship is already troubled enough. The sins is an interesting focus there. Because what is she referring to? That the rest of them have like racked up sins because they're against the world government? Is that who they're sinning against? She certainly is wanting to be in their good books. She doesn't care about Vegapunk and the others. Interesting that she would use the word sin. Does she know about Eam? Think they're the god? Marcus Mars is just listening along and then decides to stop her and says he senses the voice of a small life form up above. And York is like, from Punk Records, don't tell me he's hidden the snail up there. She explains that a new broadcast snail has just recently finished developing on Egghead, and it is a triangle. She holds up like that. She's like, a triangle shaped shell is the new broadcast snail. And he looks up and he's like, right, where is the entrance? And begins to fly up towards Punk Records. And as he leaves, we come to the main control room because York wouldn't insinuate in any way that, you know, this Frontier Dome that's currently around, she would have the information to know this is where it is activated and deactivated. But regardless, she's too focused on whatever Marcus Mars wants to do. So the command control room is still currently occupied by Stussy and Kaku. And it's quite cool. Stussy's like leaned up against the console, but Kaku's just chilling. He's in that bubble, but he's just sort of like arms crossed, leaning back, lying down. And they're like, what a relief that that's gone. It didn't have any interest in us. And look, I'm relieved as you are. What in the blue blazes was that monster? And Stussy is looking at the console and it's like, well, going off what we've overheard, I'm pretty certain that was one of the 5 elders. And Kaku's like, what a repulsive transformation they have. But Kaku brushes it aside and it's like, so, tell me, how does it feel being left high and dry by those new pals of yours, you know? I'd just be downright heartbroken if, you know, I was double-crossed. But she's like, look, I decided to stay of my own volition. Somebody needs to carry out the final mission. And that's when we cut to Edison explaining to everyone at the Sunny here up on the lab that Stussy has chosen to stay behind because somebody needs to deactivate the Frontier Dome. You know, the moment our ship is ready to leave, we can't get through the Frontier Dome unless it is disarmed from only the command tower. She wanted to do it herself, and Nami's like, look, we can only respect that and pay our gratitude by getting out of here alive. We're not going to waste a chance to escape. And even Robin's like, yeah, right, we can do this, but how are we going to cover the distance without Vega Force 1 anymore? You know, this is the real problem. And Edison's like, that is what I've been scratching my head at this whole time. According to my calculations and my conventional wisdom, we are 100% guaranteed to crash and burn. But Usopp probably doesn't hear this because they're up on the ship and he's ready. The coup de burst is ready to go. They're pointing towards sea. They're ready the moment Zoro and Jinbei arrive. And if they don't, he says we'll just have to improvise. And Edison's like smiling and is happy. He's like, you are a rowdy crew. This is great. And we can see, like, you know, miracles happen because of guts. Guts triumph over all. And especially that theory about love. Remember when Sanji kicked a Gorosei and was talking about the power of love? So it seems that this holds more theory than most things. But Edison does something pretty crazy, and we're not quite sure why yet. Edison leaps off the clouds, jumps off the lab, and everyone's like, where are you going? What are you doing? And he's like, just trust me. And internally in his thoughts, he is saying that the projected damage is 78%. He hits the Frontier Dome, explosion occurs, and he's like, I ain't dying. Not yet. What could he possibly be trying to achieve with this? Is there something on the Fabrio stratum that he's trying to get to? Is the damage that he's talking about to him? I assume it's him and not the Sunny. I assume he's worked out that if he's only going to take 78% damage, he's going to be able to get through the Frontier Dome. Not unscathed, but he'll be movable at least. But anyway, jumping down to the Fabrio phase, things have taken a turn. Things look bad. There is now a terrible vortex occurring in the centre of the island. Everything's being like pulled in to the island, and it is because Saint Jupiter is deciding to take a giant inhale of breath. This giant sandworm is now bringing everything on the island towards him. And Dory and Broggy are trying to run away. Luffy as well, like mid-air, trying to run. And it's not looking good until Luffy has the bright idea to say, right, if you're hungry, here's a building, and kicks a building at Saint Jupiter's mouth. And we have a beautiful shot of the building colliding with its head to stop the vortex. But it's at this point Luffy loses Gear 5. He is beat. His energy's run out. And he's like, I'm out of food. I'm out of power. And Dory and Broggy are like, you look like an old man. Like, what is this? You need food. We have some Hakal if you want it. And he's like, what? And he begins to eat it regardless because it's food. But Dory's like, it is fermented shark. It is like an emergency food ration that will give you strength back. And immediately, Luffy regains normal form. Not Gear 5. He doesn't get that straight power jump again. But he's at least out of old man Luffy. And he's back to normal. And it's when we see Walkyrie is charging them down. He is rushing them, charging, and Luffy jumps up and goes Gear 3rd and performs Red Rock. Just like we've seen against Kaido when we initiate the fight at 1-0. He goes for the Red Rock, collides with Kaido, pushes him down, takes the hit. Even Big Bum's like, whoa, What you think you're doing, Kaido, taking a hit like that? However, that same attack hits Walkyrie, and Luffy's hand shudders and catches fire. And they are like, how hard is this guy's skin? And Walkyrie is just glaring at them. Pause. We are now getting confirmation from Oda here that this particular Five Elder, probably the others as well, are just as strong as Kaido. How long did it take for the amount of people to weaken Kaido down? And here's one Gorosei taking a red rock to the head and not even flinching. He probably didn't even feel it. This is a real jump in power that they're going to have to deal with. And it's not just Luffy who's in trouble. Going back up to the lab in the entrance, the back entrance where Nami, Usopp's group all are, we see the claws of a creature climbing up the cloud. And they're like, it looks like a crab, but we know better. And St. J. Garcia has now intercepted the Sunny. We jump to the northern coast. The giants have just been defeated, and there is an incredible shot. A figure in shadow stood on 4 skeletal legs, looming over Bonnie's group. And the final panels of this chapter, inside Punk Records itself, this dark void of a room, Marcus Mars, now in human form. Whether he couldn't get in as a bird, I don't know. But there is only 1 minute left. And as he's walking through, he is like, fortune has not favoured you this time, Vegapunk. And he sees on the floor that transponder snail that York was talking about, the triangular shell. But there is a gurgle, a noise in the background that catches Marcus Mars's ear. And as he looks up beyond the snail, he has a grimace to his face. He looks perplexed, worried, wouldn't say terrified, but certainly concerned with what he has just seen. And that is where the chapter ends. Now, before I go off on a tangent, the title of hard aspects is the alignment of the planets within their respective angles or whatever. This is Oda basically saying the 5 elders are in like their positions now. Marcus Mars reached Punk Records. Nos Joro looking absolutely badass. Oda's definitely got a favourite because everyone else looks like an absolute idiot. And this dude looks menacing. He is just rode in, sliced down 2 giants, and is stood there, cloaked in shadow, the sword dripping with blood, intimidating as fuck. And he is in his position. J. Garcia has reached the top of the lab, ready to intercept the Sunny and Nami's group. Walkyrie and Jupiter are facing off against Luffy and the Giants. They're all in alignment. They're all in their regarded aspects and ready. What could Marcus Mars have possibly seen in Punk Records? Let me know what you think. What has Vegapunk got in store for us inside Punk Records? Let me know what you thought of the chapter. Thank you for watching this far. I do appreciate it. I will see you next time. Bye.